Happy Tuesday, Care Bears, Pod Killers, every capsuler in between. It's your bite-sized weekly dose of New Eden news, tips, and information. This week, the bot war rages on, devs are banning accounts, and is insurance coming to higher tier ships? Our guest today is Ko, with his industry management tips and how he gets enough ISK and HiSec to pay for Omega in a couple of days.
All right, first up in the news, the bot war continues. The EVE Coalition and others are combating botting corporations and decimating their military and miners. Billions of ISK is lost every day, may even be in the trillions by now as the battles rage. And the devs released a ban notice last week. Just over 68,000 accounts got banned for various reasons. The large bulk of the ban was from real money trading operations at 66%. Followed by almost 30% of accounts being banned for abnormal anomaly and encounter behavior, and just over 2% being abnormal mining behavior. Is insurance coming to every ship? Yes. It's in the design logs and possibly won't be implemented until February, right around when T9 hits.
Plex has indeed leveled off, dropping by 5k on average to a current 440k. This is nothing to worry about, as despite small fluctuations, the overall course remains a slow, consistent rise. Now for our core bat of the week. Dark Null Corporation invites everyone to come join regardless of skill or playing level. At Dark Null, everyone has the opportunity to enjoy EVE Echoes for what it's meant to be, creating long-lasting memories and friendships along the way. What makes Dark Null stand out is their specialization in industry, a stable management team, and daily fleet operations with the SRP. Dark Null provides weekly training sessions and in-house competitions. If Dark Null sounds like a good fit for you, please feel free to apply through their Discord. Link is in the description. This week's Alliance ad is The Pantheon. You may have heard this one before. Move your corp to some excellent nullsec space and fly with thousands in a massive coalition. Be a part of something big, get rich, and control a region along with well-organized, friendly, and efficient allies. Get a hold of them soon. They only have one slot available, and it is currently actively sought after. The link to the Pantheon Discord is in the description. And like we've mentioned last week, the bounty office we've been using has stopped updating. So if you'd like to see this podcast host its own bounty board for you to submit bounties to and collect from, let us know. As some of you know, these large in-game battles are causing server issues. When even just a few hundred people are in a single system, they can have constant disconnecting issues. This seems to be a continuous problem for the players, especially to fleet commanders and guardian and logistics roles in large battles. To prevent that, players are turning the graphic settings to the lowest possible setting. People may still disconnect. Could this be a device issue, you think? Yes. Yes, it could. From what we've seen, most disconnects are happening on PC-run emulators. So when it comes time to battle, they switch to a mobile device for stability. You can look at how pretty your ship is later, but when it comes time to fleet up, set all your graphics to low and zoom out, and try not to use an emulator. It can make a huge difference. Alright, this week we are talking to Ko, Shipbuilder, who also found a way to go from Alpha to Omega in days, only in HiSec. How's it going, Ko?
Hey, you alright?
Doing good. So you are a shipbuilder.
That's right, yeah. I build ships in EVE. This seems to be the main thing that I wanted to do in the EVE Online back in the day, but didn't really get to play it properly. So yeah, when it came out, went for shipbuilding.
That your primary focus?
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to do something that was tangible, I guess. I know the PvE and PvP side have their ways of playing, but I wanted to try that creating ships.
I know a lot of people rely on mining or ratting for their income. Is the shipbuilding side as profitable?
Wow, this is the sort of crux of shipbuilding. So obviously now we have bubbles and gate camps and all those wonderful things. I'd say that shipbuilding has become less profitable. It's gotten to the point where, yes, you can you can create your ship, you can mine it out in your nullsec area, but then getting it up to market to sell it becomes a bit of a pain. It sort of becomes more convenient to build one big ship for a big payday rather than building lots of small ships. And I find that is more dry in terms of gameplay. So let me give you an example. If I'm building Venture 3s, I could knock, 10 of them out, 20 of them out in a night or two. And you're sort of getting these drips of profits coming through constantly. Just a few million here, a few million there, dripping into your wallet. Obviously, if you're down in low sec, you can't exactly transport all those ships up very in a time convenient manner, and you certainly can't do it in an AFK manner. So you're kind of sat there, sort of, moving these small ships from null sec up to a market somewhere just to sell them becomes sort of almost like you can't be bothered. So it is definitely easier to stick to the bigger ships when you're in null sec, I think. And I definitely think that selling to obviously your corp and your alliance is probably your main customer base at that point. So does it make as much money as running dead spaces and that sort of thing? I don't know. I think it's close.
Well, is it tangibly just more satisfying for you?
Well, I've been trying my hand at PvP recently.
How'd that go?
I've lost 3 Merlin assaults and I've killed 1 Venture 2.
Doesn't sound good. It's not in your favor.
Well, I've learned some pretty important lessons pretty quickly. One of them I should know from this podcast, because you say it all the time, always warp 30 kilometers away from something, or never warp at 0, I guess is the advice. Ignored that and lost my first Merlin that way. Warped it straight into a bubble. The second one I lost because I'm pretty sure I hung around a system too long, making my mind up. So I got into the system and there was 12 people in there. And I went to the one station they had in the system, and so there was 9 people in there. So I thought, there's obviously a couple of people out in there, obviously anoms or belts or whatever. So I sort of stayed there for a couple of moments, and they must have been chatting about it. They must have been, because I jumped to a belt and there's a retriever, and I thought, it's my lucky day. So I targeted him, managed to get the warp scram on him. He starts targeting me, and I'm like, why is he targeting me? Oh no. And then as soon as his target locked, suddenly my cap was 0. He must have had neutralizers on there or something. And then suddenly a cruiser showed up.
Backup came in.
Yeah, straight away. Yeah, the Myrmidon came in and just wiped the floor with me. And then the third one I lost just now, just before this podcast, actually. So I was a few jumps away in Curse from home base. And I attacked a guy, Adventure 3. He managed to get away. Local chat sort of blew up a little bit. And then I thought, well, I haven't got criminal timers, so I'll just gate out and leave him alone. But I didn't realize you can't gate out if you've been hostile in the system in null.
That's some sore luck you got there.
Well, it's all lessons to be learned. Maybe I should tone it down on the ship that I'm choosing to learn the lessons in.
Well, on the plus side, you're going through cheap ships and you're learning.
Well, I wouldn't say they were cheap. Each one's about 60 mil so far, because I tend to put the rigs on them and some decent weapons. But the railguns are cheap because all the railgun technology seems to be quite cheap as well. All the rigs for it.
Most people aren't really into the railguns, so yeah, they're pretty affordable right now.
That's exactly right, yeah. So just taking advantage of that, so I can have a good ship, like an assault frigate, tier 7, but it's not as much as it should be. Frigates are just not the way to go for PvP.
I'll make a statement about that. It's pretty much all my corporation does is fighting frigates, and we have actually great success.
Oh, nice. I just get good.
Yeah, focus your skills, and basically, if you're flying a frigate, then you're probably an experienced pilot. So definitely learn some tactics to not only evade, but to stay alive.
Interestingly, on the frigate I just lost, I'm pretty sure I didn't die that quick, and I'm pretty sure I could have got away. Half in mind about fighting him, half in mind about getting away, and I kind of couldn't decide. And I think in that sort of combat situation, every second counts, you know. But basically, I'm pretty sure if I had just activated the DCU and just, you know, sort of approached the next gate, I would have escaped the scram. So I am kicking myself. But like I said, I learn, you know. So now I know not to go to the gate. And also, if I do get caught like that, I could probably get away if I just calm down, relax, and, you know, align that way.
Yeah, it's possible you could have got away, but before that other ship came in to come and destroy you. That retriever wasn't going to do anything to you, but take your cap.
Yeah.
You're taking it the right way. Everything's a learning experience.
In his defense, he flew out of a station knowing he's going to lose that ship. So
yeah, I try not to take my PvP endeavors too seriously because, you know, as we said already, that I'm more of a shipbuilding player. So I build all these Merlins, by the way. So
that takes the edge off.
Yeah, you know, and then the one of them actually had no fittings, and it got popped on the way to get fittings. So every cloud has a silver lining and all that.
You live in Nullsec?
Yeah, mining, building, all in null. Not as low security rating as I'd hoped, though.
I believe you were telling me you had a alpha clone, a new character you started, and just keeping it entirely in high sec got it up to Omega over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, so that was actually me and my buddy Ferb. So he sort of discovered, whilst sort of jumping his 4. So he got blue stacks, right? And he gave it a go, and he got 4 alts up and was having a go. And he kind of just discovered it when he was playing one of the characters that after a scout anon or an inquisitor anon, one or the other, the loot was enough that there were buy orders in Jita that he just sort of cashed out like 20 million. And the drops that he got was the mining circular timing. So these timing rigs are obviously quite expensive. And if he makes them, they'll give a few more mil. But he got a few of those, and obviously I got 2 or 3 of those. So it was like 20 mil, 30 mils worth of value. So we decided to carry on repeating the process, and yeah, sure shooting. It took us, I think I'd done it in like 5 anoms. Finding the anoms was a pain. You just sort of jumping around star to star, checking out those dead end stars, etc. But eventually, yeah, if you do it, if you find 4 or 5 anoms, you probably will find that you have enough now to go to Jita and get your Omega account. Now, I have a theory as to why they were like this. So I'm thinking in my head, if you look at the tier 1 rigs, a lot of them I think are far overpriced. They shouldn't be as much as we're seeing. And I think the reason for that is because when people play the game, they sort of see these tier 1 anoms as tier 1, right? And they sort of graduate as quick as they can. You know, before you know it, they're out of their frigs, they're in their destroyers, they're in their cruisers, and they want to push out into lower sex regions. And they're not doing tier 1s anymore. Perhaps they see them as trash, like trash mobs, like you would in any MMO. And as a result, the things that these anoms are dropping in their scouting inquisitors are rare, not because they're rare, but because people are not doing them. So they're not making their way onto the market, which means all these tier 1 rigs are suddenly quite expensive. So either it's a secret hidden in plain sight and people just haven't clocked onto the fact that they can just stick around doing the tier 1 stuff and find it lucrative. And obviously, if they did this, if enough players did this, it would bring the price on the market for all the items down. See these tier 1 rigs. I'm not sure, but it was very fast. And I think we started them on Friday evening, and Ferb, by the time Saturday night, I think 2 of his had enough. And then by Sunday morning, his other 2 and my 1 had enough for Omega. So had 5 Omega accounts in the course of a couple of days. It's interesting, right? Because you look at these rigs and you think, wow, you know, the tier 2 rigs for that circular, the tier 2 version of that's like 100 mil now, or last much at 120 mil or something ridiculous.
Yeah, the market prices in Echoes everything is insane.
Yeah, I think some stuff's starting to come down. As a shipbuilder, personally, I would like to see buy orders being possible in any station.
Yeah,
So
I can understand why they changed that for the mobile version, but yeah, it would be nice.
I think the problem just comes down to their search. So when you like click an item, spot B, and you say, "Hey, what's the buy price?" It just sort of orders it by who will give you the most money, and it's always Jita, you know. So if you've got a station near you, like the ITC near you, and you want to put a buy order in for Spodmium and pay 400 per piece, it's never going to show up on the person to the miner in your area, because as soon as he clicks on buy orders, he's just going to see those 700 per piece in Jita. It's kind of like the dirty little secret of shipbuilding. You see, all the minerals are down in the null-sec area, and you can't back up to high-sec. So Spodmium and Nice. So if you've got a Kiros, you could just sort of buy all the spod and Nice, reprocess it, and just transport it around. Why go all over the local stars paying $250 per piece of Spodmium to all the local miners, when I could just say in my own station, "Hey, look, I'll pay you, $300 per piece. Just bring it to me." If you do that, it'll never show up it'll never show up to them as they click on buy orders. Unless, of course, they go directly to the station and try and to the ITC and try and sell, and then obviously I'll sort of say, "Hey, someone at the station is buying it for this." Being an industry player, you got to try and work out what works for the kind of industry setup works for the core, and you get systems of governance like buyback systems. But in my opinion, these things never work.
Or buyback doesn't work.
Yeah, or buyback doesn't work. None of them work. Really. Like, so think of it this way, right? If I'm a guy who's capable of mining lots of ore, then I'm only a few skill points away, a few days away from being able to turn the ore I've mined into ships that I can sell for much juicier prices. So the price any corp is going to be paying me for my ore really has to be worth my time, right? And then you've got this sort of, you've got to entice them away from making their own ships and donating, well, some are donating, but selling their ore to the corp. So you've got to solve that issue. Then you've got the other issue, which is somebody has to be online to handle the kind of the requisition. So you've got this kind of like bottleneck. Oh, when so and so getting online, so I can buy some spot, or the corp can buy some off him or whatever. I think if you've got 20, 30 people in a system, and you give the people of that system, people who are not mining players, but they're sort of PvP players or PvE players, but they're online and they haven't got a fleet going right now, maybe they would jump in their Venture 3 if they knew sitting in a bell for 10 minutes was going to get them 1.5 million. Like every time they came back. As soon as they come back, they don't reprocess it, they just go sell 1.5 million straight in their wallet, and they can go out and do it again, I think if you had that, people would start mining for you because they're doing it for themselves, but it wouldn't necessarily be your mining players. So it's a difficult one. And of course, you need the customers once you've built the ships, and not everyone loses ships because they're all PvE players. It's difficult trying to solve the industry command structure or supply line, shall we say, in a way that benefits everybody.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Ours is convoluted.
My CEO's got an interesting idea, wants to do a shop. And I've been thinking about a shop idea. And if you had a system in which you had a temporary rank within your corp as a customer, like a customer rank, where they can withdraw from a specific hangar, where the item would be placed once they've purchased the item. And then you could do it with donating the money to the corp wallet. So you buy it that way. And then the person who's made the ship, whoever the corp is getting the ship from, they pay them from the wallet. So you'd have to trust your shipbuilder with a temporary rank where he could withdraw from the wallet the money he wants for the ship he's just built, and then sell the ship in the same manner where the buyer donates to the corp wallet and then gets access to the hangar to get the ship. This completely knocks out all tax, right? Which means that now you can actually pay your shipbuilder more than he would get if he sold it at market, sell it for less than it's worth on market, but still make a profit. So the corp just gets a tax for the in-between sale, for the in escrow, I guess. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So a battle cruiser, like a prophecy, right? Like a prophecy is 280 million or something like 289 million. Right now, if I was to sell that at market, I'd get like 22% tax between the broker fee and the sales tax. So I sort of end up walking away with like 230 million or something like that. So if the corp was to give me 250 million from the corp, I've got more money now from that sale than I would have got if I sold it by far. So I'm happy as the shipbuilder. The corp is then able to sell that to another member for say 270 mil, and they've got 10 mil off. So he's got money off the ship. I've got more money than I should have got than I would have sold at market, and the corp in between has got 20, 30 mil profit just because it handled the sale.
You just have to have a lot of trust that somebody doesn't clean out your wallet.
Exactly, and I think that's where the system completely falls down. Because then you'd obviously end up keeping lists of people who can't buy ships from you, your own members. Like, I don't really trust you to buy a ship from us.
My corp, we have the specialized people that do the shipbuilding and do the mining and all that, and then we have that similar system to that you were talking about. It's where the shipbuilder will contract me a ship. Sure, depending on the value, I wait the 5-hour audit or 8-hour audit, but the money doesn't go through that contract. I just donate it to the corp, and then he pulls it from the corp, and then everybody's happy. If
you do get it right, it's going to create a really strong backbone to an alliance.
That person logs, all their stuff that the buy orders and the sell orders or their contracts or whatever, that's all logged. And then people that are above him will audit it or make sure that it's all good, So there's no fraudulent activity going on or anything like that. So I think it's pretty good. Say I want a retriever and my shipbuilder will sell it to me for 75 mil. Instead of me paying him 75 mil through a contract, I donate it to the corp, and then he'll be able to pull it from the corp, but he'll contract that retriever to me for nothing. So then I get the audit, but I get that ship. It seemed to be a pretty good system. And like he was saying, I'm not really familiar with the taxes and all that and not having to pay tax and the profit margin and that. I'm just not familiar in that because I've only bought the ships from the shipbuilder. I've actually never been a shipbuilder to go and sell the ships. I did hear of a corp that I don't know what his role was, but he was able to get into the corp wallet and all the corp hangers and all that and stole millions of ISK. And I don't think it was in the billions yet. It was still pretty early in the game, but needless to say, he ended up getting kicked. And then we dealt with him for in system. We dealt with him for probably a couple weeks before he got sick and tired of dying. So it could pose a security threat, definitely.
What if you just had a director or the CEO issue the payment to the shipbuilder from the wallet?
As me being just a normal member, I don't see that. Now, my shipbuilder, he tells me, hey, just donate it to the wallet, and he gets his money somehow. That's stuff that normal corp members don't really, they don't hear about that.
If you contract someone money, you get taxed. If I can pull from the wallet, I can just pull exactly that amount, and there's no tax, which is why you're able to give the builder more than they would normally get from market. You're able to still sell the ship for cheaper than it should be at market. So like everybody's happy. Like they're ready to go out now and build as many ships as they can because they're selling them to you for more than they would get at market, removing that having to jump around annoyance. You can say to someone, hey, look, if you give me a Venture 3 full of spodmium, I'll give you 1.5 million. It's like, oh, yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. He starts training the mining. He starts getting the Venture 3s. He's making good money. He likes it. And then suddenly he realizes, hey, if I four runs of spodmium by myself, I can build two or three ships, if I just reprocess it correctly, etc. That sort of 6 mil that he could have made by selling it to you now turns into 15, 20 mil that he's selling at market because he's just built himself a caracal. So what you need to do is you need to give your non-industry players, hey, come and sell to us kind of thing if you need money quick. And I think you're more likely to do that if you had the buy orders in market, which I know I've mentioned a few times now, but just really upset that wasn't in there.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Having an ore buyback program is pretty much essential because you don't want to be going out into nullsec in Adventure 3, with all the potential hazards along the way, fill up your hole and then come back and then sell for 1.5 million. It's just, I don't think that's really worth it in that sense. So if you have a nullsec corp and you're part of a buyback program that they have, the ore buyback may be 1% off lower than what you would get out of JITA, but it's also safe. But they also have ores that they need more so, right? And so with that, they'll provide incentives to get more of that single ore type. So have you seen something like that where you would get incentives for that?
We put together sort of how much spodmium, dark ochre, pyro, and niche you would need to build a cyclone battlecruiser. It does give people that, oh, look, there's an actual number for us to aim for now. So what do? You sort of say that your corporation will keep 100,000 of each resource in stock, but won't buy any more once they've reached that cap, is it?
Yeah. Once they reach their cap, then they'll close it and be like, okay, hey, we got enough of this. And then you could see all the numbers, all the members that are a part of the Discord have access to that spreadsheet. And it's all in the spreadsheet.
I just feel like with the other aspects of it, there's builds, and this is the builds you need, come out in so many players, and then, hey, you tackle these guys if you're PvP, or you tank these guys if you're PvE, and you sort of, it's kind of comes down to that. I'm not going to say basic play because obviously I'm struggling with my PvP, but you know what I mean. There's definitely a path to follow. Industry, however, there's no real clear-cut path to follow. It's almost like if you can whip them into shape. So I like that guy's. You had a guy on last week. Was it Honk? His corporation do points like eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember from the World of Warcraft days, we'd have sort of dragon kill points, right? DKP. And the more you took part in community events in the Corp or Alliance, we say back then, you would have extra points, right? So you'd earn sort of some arbitrary point from some point system that we've devised amongst ourselves. But these points would be used to cash in opportunity. If that makes sense. So say if you go PvE right now, I think in Eve Echoes, I think the typical thing people do is say, hey, look, we'll give all this to the person who has the best accounting, sell it all and split it. Whereas I kind of like, well, or if you get that C-type adaptive shield that's many hundred millions or whatever it costs these days, I wouldn't mind just having that rather than a split of the profit. But, that's for the PvP people to work out. But I think if I had the point system like that I'd like to see that being used to cash in opportunity. So, hey, I want an opportunity in this, so I'll cash in 50 of my points to sort of get a roll, if you like, winning the item.
Yeah, and then in your case, each point would be worth a specific ISK value.
Exactly, and you get this kind of idea of the next mission I go out on, something really cool might drop, but I'm not getting a share of the loot. I'm pretty much getting nothing because I haven't got any points to cash in for any of the items. So do you know what I mean? But I'm not sure. I mean, but PvE and PvP seem pretty sorted. I never hear much complaints from those people.
So my corp has something similar to Chris's golden egg system, to how we have a 1-for-1 value ISK credit system. So like a week and a half ago or so, we got a vigilant kill that dropped X amount of ISK worth of loot. Well, we had a designated looter grab that loot and take it back to base. So what they did is they just calculated all that it's worth, and then you split it up. In this case, it was split up 9 or 10 ways. And that ISK value went to my credit account, which is in a spreadsheet. I probably have, 300 million in ISK credit that really is just sitting there. And it's kind of like, you're using your debit card, ISK for ISK, and the loot goes into the hangar, and we have an option to buy it.
I like this idea of, sometimes what I find as well is you get hangars that build up like loads of items, and a lot of people sort of end up don't buying or using the items, and they end up and a lot of them build up. You think, well, I would take those 3 rigs. I realize they're expensive because they're like 10 mil each for the blueprints, right? But we've got the 3 blueprints, and this is literally a real life situation now. So in my corp, there's some blueprints for the railgun accelerators and railgun damage, and there's 2 of the one of the other, which is that. And I think we got them. It's like I don't want to just take them because they're quite expensive. You know, they're not cheap rigs. And obviously, I'm just throwing them at ships that are going out, getting blown up. So, but I feel if we had like some sort of system, I would feel more comfortable because I could go on the spreadsheet and say, hey, look, I use 20, 30 mil of credit that I've earned, and we've all agree that I have earned, and I'm going to take these items from the hangar. So I think it makes more fluid the items in the hangar, which it should be. You know, the items in the hangar should be fluid. The ship should be constantly being built. People should be using that to sort of fight more, push more, PvP more, that sort of thing.
I think a golden point here is there's a lot of different ways to go about pretty much everything from mining and SRP to shipbuilding to loot payouts. Just be creative with it. All right, Kel. Well, it's been more than a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us.
Cheers, guys.
And now for the kill mail of the week. This one was submitted by one of our fans, Orion, and his fellow comrade potted a Ferox that was worth just over 1 billion ISK. Potentially out on its first voyage, that person obviously didn't know how to use it. I'm sure everyone has heard about the battleship slaughter the Golden Horde had a few days ago. In all the casualties, there were 3 battleships lost for just over 19.5 billion total, as enemies tried to set up a gate camp in their territory. Nice try.
That'll do it for this week, friends. For our deep dive of the week's most important stories in the week in review, check out Eve Echo's weekly news update on YouTube at Echoes from the Front, linked in the show notes.
And if you want to hear your kill mails, bounties, corp or alliance ads, or even your own voice as a guest of the week, join our Discord and say hey. Link in the description.
Once again, if you enjoy the pod, maybe tell people you fly with. Since we don't really do any kind of advertising, most of our listeners are from word of mouth. You know you're awesome. So if you're extra awesome, you could leave a review on Apple Podcast. Warm than old pirate's cold dead heart. Until next week, fly dangerously.
Thanks for listening. Fly safe.